moderately unscheduled live streams, although I think we're getting close to being regularly scheduled now. It's been quite a while that we've been getting them out between 9 and 9:30 on Saturday night, but they're not technically scheduled. So we're going to wait for some people to show up. When you're watching this later, our topic this night is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Speak the Truth. And I forgot to put the title in the damn son of a gun. I drive myself crazy. Oh well. Hey, let me get the chat up real quick, and we'll get started. Don't go nowhere. We got 5 people here. I'm getting the chat up, and then we'll be ready to go. We got 5 people and 1 thumbs up. I know who's here. Hey, Loopy. Lance Corporal Veteran, how you doing, sir? All right, where's the chat? All right, Ryan's here. Luke B had his first helicopter pilot lesson today. That seems like a big deal. I don't know what the. Do you say congratulations? I don't know, but that's awesome. I would love to be a helicopter pilot. Isaac zeroed his rifle at 36 yards. As Corporal Veteran is naked at work. Let's all hope no one comes in. Alright. So, I didn't capitalize that. Hold on 1 second. This gets more and more like a USS live stream every day. Y'all ever watch USS and then just in the middle of the live stream he'll just get up and go smoke and he'll be gone for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. He'll just be like, y'all keep it going, and he just walks off. Craziest thing. But USS is crazy. Oh, doing our demented Mr. Rogers thing again. Won't you be my prepper? So, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I don't know if y'all saw this on Zero Hedge. It was a few days ago. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, that is correct. Isaac probably knows them personally. He lives up that way. The RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, slipped up and let a moment of truth come out. It slipped out past their lips before they realized what was happening. They would have never done it under normal circumstances. They may have been drunk. Normally, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Luke is talking about the helicopter. It's expensive, but a lifelong dream. Maybe I should have gone for night vision instead. I don't know, brother. If time comes you need to fly a helicopter, you know. I would imagine when that time comes, you're going to really need to be able to fly a helicopter. By the way, we're back to the bullet rye this weekend. It'll be a while before we're done with that bottle. Pause this. Well, let's go ahead and have our first sip. It's good stuff. All right. So they normally would never do it unless they were drunk. But the Royal Canadian Mounted Police slipped up and had a moment of truth reveal itself. Their lips had no idea what was happening. They had never experienced such a thing before. The mouth of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police almost choked as truth issued forth from it, because the Royal Canadian Mounted Police has not told truth since the days of Dudley Do-Right. But they slipped up and did it. This was a Zero Hedge article from a few days ago. It wasn't a very long article, but they had a leaked report. Hey, Clancy, how you doing, sir? Uh, yeah, the Biden banned Christianity. Oh yeah, from the White House tomorrow. Yeah, did y'all see this where the Biden administration said that? Hey, Ryan said that at the annual Easter egg roll there couldn't be any Easter eggs with religious themes. It's like, excuse me. Uh, Easter egg roll. Now, by the way, the word Easter is deeply pagan. It comes from a pagan fertility goddess. We should never be labeling our celebration for the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Easter. Most other languages have it be some version of the word Passover, which is what it's based off of. But for some reason in English we got saddled with this word Easter. I've banned it from our parlance. We call it Resurrection Sunday. But anywho, that being said, I know no one's worshiping a ancient pagan fertility goddess when they say the word Easter. I'm not like shaking my finger at you and judging you. I'm just saying we need a better name for the holiday because, you know, it usually when people tell me something's pagan, I roll my eyes because as soon as I research it, it almost never turns out to be pagan. But when I looked into Easter, the word Easter is from a pagan origin. Okay, so anyway, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So yeah, Biden's a moron. I mean, he's just a moron. Are you going to celebrate the holiday specifically about the resurrection of Jesus and ban displays of religiosity? The whole holiday is a religious display. Oh, we lost 4 people over that. Man, people don't like religion. Okay, where were we? Royal Canadian Mounted Police slipped up, and they had this. They did this like in enough Easter rabbit holes. That's good. They had this internal intelligence. I'm not sure the right word. Analysis get leaked. It wasn't supposed to get leaked. I didn't even see how it got leaked, but it leaked on it. And even, okay, so Canada, you got to understand something about Canada. Not one more peep from you about. Nice, well done, Isaac. apparently it's going to be pun night. We're gonna have pun tonight. That was bad. I'll show myself out. I'm over here laying eggs. Ha! I got in on it. Okay. Now, what you got to remember about Canada, and all of you know this, Canada is so far down the left-wing authoritarian rabbit hole, it's not going to stop, geez, that they're damn near 1936 Germany. I mean, like, they're just one step away from Tito and Stalin and Kuska and all them jackasses, or the Albanian one I just learned about his name. I can't remember now. I mean, they're nuts down there. Y'all remember the truckers up there? They're up there. They're nuts up there. Y'all remember the truckers convoy? That was so much worse than even we know about. There's this thing called there's these 4 guys called the Keating 4 or whatever. I can't remember. There's some who they just got arrested. And they've never been charged. 2 of them finally got out recently. But the last I heard, 2 of them have been in jail since the truckers convoy. Never been charged with anything. And you just listen to what these men have gone through. And it makes the J6 prisoners, they should be thankful that they're not going through what these poor guys are going through up in Canada. Anyway, Canada's just lost to us. They're nuts. I mean, that slice there in the middle is pretty good, but the either side is just crazy, and they've captured, the courts and the law enforcement apparatus, and it's just a left-wing authoritarian wet dream up there. crazy. Okay, so I say all that to say, when they admit what I'm about to tell you about, you know that all the governments know this and that they're scared shitless. This is what we've learned this week from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police's slip up. They had this big long paper all about the future, and I think it was about 5 years. This is what I read. I never print these things out and have them with me or have the links or anything, because, by God, you know, who wants to be that precise about things? If you need me to be precise and show my sources, then, you know, go watch it, the real channel. And what they said was that the next 5 years that the economic situation will be so bad. Now, they were talking about Canada, but I think we can extrapolate out that the economic situation will become so bad, and that the right-wing populism will become so bad that we will continue to have worse and worse and worse civic disintegration and civic unrest. And they stopped just short of saying that there'll be revolution in Canada. Like, they just stopped this short of calling for a revolution, or claiming that a revolution. Hey, 10 Tigers, how you doing? Was going to happen. And this is in Canada. They were specifically talking about housing costs, and how housing costs have soared so high, and that there is simply no way. This was a government report too, by the way. This was a government report of an intelligence analysis, that there was no way that the average Canadian was going to be able to buy a house. That over the course of the next 5 years, the average Canadian would be unable to buy a house. And that right-wing misinformation, I don't think they said right-wing, I think they said populist misinformation, coupled with a worsening economic situation, was going to lead to severe unrest, civil unrest, like Canada's never seen in its history. Okay, so that's Canada. Now, just look around. I'll tell you a little story. I'll tell you lots of stories because I like storytelling, but this particular story involves a certain handsome bearded man who's underappreciated in almost every endeavor. Hey, Walter Davis, how you doing? And this mysterious, unnamed, anonymous, handsome, bearded, underappreciated man, about 12 years ago, bought a house. Yeah, that's the other thing, 10 Tigers, and we'll talk about this in a second. Thanks for calling me handsome. This mysterious, anonymous, unknown, definitely not me, underappreciated, handsome, bearded man bought a house about 12 years ago. Now, it was a weird situation, and even when he bought this house, it was a little undervalued, but he paid $30,000 for it. On an unfashionable end of the unfashionable side of the unfashionable zip code in the unfashionable area of Northeast Georgia. At the bottom of the dirt road, no, I got that wrong. At the end of a dirt road, at the bottom of a hill, at the top of a valley, on the unfashionable end of the unfashionable side of the unfashionable area in Northeast Georgia. So, you know, if real estate is all about location, this guy bought a house, you know, that probably, you know, was just low. There was no location, it was just low. Or maybe loco. Paid $30,000 for it 12 years ago. Well, about 2 years ago, the house up the street, and when I say house, I use the term loosely. The house up the street from the mysterious bearded handsome man, which was on less than an acre of dirt. It was a 1980s vintage single-wide trailer with an addition on the back. Probably total square footage around 1,000. It's a small house on a small lot. Not quite as far down that same dirt road, but still down that same dirt. And when I say dirt road, man, this is a goat track. It's not even a real dirt road. It's just an easement across everyone's property, and we all drive on it, and we hope that it doesn't wash away. So it's not even a road. I mean, this is if there's people who can't come down here, which is why I like it. Oh, I just outed myself. I doxed myself. I'm the mysterious, bearded, handsome man. I didn't mean to tell you that. Damn. So, there goes OPSEC. Blew the OPSEC. Anyway, 2 years ago, uh, that house listed for $150,000. Dad on YouTube's here. How you doing, sir? And it sold within a matter of weeks. I looked at another house not far from here. My daughter was looking to buy. Now it was on a nice lot, nice 4-acre lot, but it was way out in the country, down a dirt road, uh, and the house was this old 1970s vintage double wide trailer that had been it had been remodeled, but it looked like it had been remodeled by a blind man with a butter knife. I mean, it was just the worst job I'd ever seen in my life. Now, they're not the worst. I've seen some pretty lousy jobs, but this one was up there. And it was listed for 150, 60, maybe it was 170, I don't know, somewhere in there, $1,000, and it sold in a matter of weeks. So housing prices have quintupled in less than 15 years. Housing values of prices have quintupled in less than 15 years. Now, this house I bought, my house, probably, it probably, at the time I bought it, should have been in the $45,000 to $50,000 range. There were some reasons why it was $30,000. But even so, if it had supposedly been 50, and now the comps around are 150 and 160, that's tripled. Housing prices have tripled. I am half regarded. I think you meant retarded. In less than 15 years, they've tripled. I was shocked. I mean, literally shocked. Look, I am not no big fan of the millennials and their whiny stuff. They've got a point though, man. You can't form a household right now with what housing costs are. When my daughter, the one who was trying to buy the house, the crappy 70s vintage double wide, when they lost it to a higher bid, she had to go rent a place, and she's paying $1,200-1,300 a month for an apartment. It's not a bad apartment, but it's an apartment, and it's probably 750 square foot, and it's in a block of apartments, and she's paying $1,200 a month. That is immoral. That is immoral. So when the millennials complain, they've got a point. The prices have gone up so fast, so much, that they really can't form households. That I don't know how my daughter's doing it. My son-in-law deserves a medal. Now she works part-time. She's pregnant with her second baby, so I'm going to have another grandbaby soon. They told me today what the name might be. They haven't settled on it yet, but it's going to be cool, man. If that's the one they pick, it'll be pretty cool. Too much. And you know what, for minimum wage hasn't gone up in Georgia, I don't think. And minimum wage hasn't tripled. Surely it hasn't tripled. I haven't worked for minimum wage in a long time, but surely it hasn't tripled. Housing costs have tripled in 15 years. That's immoral. And I blame immigration, illegal immigration. You cannot pump that many people into an economy and not have wild housing inflation, bare minimum, because they got to live somewhere. Gosh, minimum wage is $17 in Massachusetts. They've got to live somewhere. That is going to send housing costs through the roof. We're saying what the last 3 years, probably 7.5 million on the low end. Gosh, California minimum wage is pushing $20. I honestly don't know what the minimum wage in Georgia is. The last one I remember was $7.50, but that could have been a long time ago. Someone look it up. Gen Z is opting out. Gen Alpha, who knows if they both opt out of college loans, car loans, home loans. What is Gen Alpha? They both opt out of college loans, car loans, and home loans. It will crash our debt-based system. Well, they need to opt out of college loans and car loans. Cars are just, they're a financial death sentence. That's something else that's immoral. Oh, Georgia, thank you, Isaac. God, Isaac is just a hell of a man. Yeah, Georgia minimum wage is $7.25. Gen Alpha is after Gen Z. Okay. Alpha is the middle schoolers. Z are the high schoolers. And is Z the ones right after the millennials, or is there someone in between the millennials? That on YouTube's got one of each. And is there anything in between Gen Z and the millennials? Or are they the ones that follow each other? I know I'm Gen X. I know we're the forgotten generation, sandwiched right in between the baby boomers and the millennials, which the millennials are actually the largest generation in history. They're bigger than the baby boom generation, but they're not going to reproduce. So they're the last big, and that's also, look, okay, nothing between millennials and Gen Z. Thank you. Isaac's parents are Gen X. Shut up, Isaac. You're demoted, bastard. Where was I? Son of a gun. Oh, with the millennials being the largest generation like that and coming into their prime home buying years, large swaths of the housing cost are related to the millennials being such a large generation, which that's a good thing. The wealth of a king is in his people. However, when you throw illegal immigration on top of it and you're bringing in millions of extra people, that pushes it over into insanity. And right now it's an insanity. And it is the youngest. I think my daughter must be Gen Z. She's 20 or 21. That particular daughter. I have 8 daughters. And let's see, the oldest one is 25 or 26, so she's probably Gen Z too. Those are the people who are going to suffer. How do you form a household? How do you start a family if you don't have anywhere for them to live? That's a silent generation, greatest generation, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials. Southern Appalachian Recon did some excellent reconnaissance for us. So yeah, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police let that one slip out. Oops. So if they're admitting that, what other quiet behind the scenes figuring is going on with our overlords? Got something to show you here in a minute. I fell in love this weekend. What other? I got on Twitter. They have a freaking smoke tax for wood stoves in Canada. Oh my gosh. Of course they do. Because they got to tax your energy use. I got on Twitter. Twitter good. Isaac likes Twitter. That's kind of why I've been checking out Twitter. Isaac and one other guy have been checking out Twitter. I don't think I can stay on it. Because I get too spun up. I keep seeing all these videos of criminals doing horrific things to people. And one of them was in Canada, where these 4 religion of peace practitioners, some of these four practitioners of the religion of peace, just randomly pulled someone over and got out of the car and just beat the shit out of their car and tried to open the doors, and the people were able to lock the doors before the doors got opened on them. And these four guys just started beating the car and smashing the windows. And of course, I get so angry. I'm like, and I don't know. I sometimes I have to limit what I'm exposed to, or my synapses explode on me. But if people can't afford housing, if food is just going through the roof. Food does not stop going up in prices. And if people can't afford to have a roof over their heads, and they can't afford to buy food, and all of these illegals are running around with their debit cards paid for by state taxes, people are going to explode. You can't starve people and throw them out on the street and then pay for strangers to come in and live well and not expect a backlash. Look, Anglo-Saxons, our connection to our houses goes back to the founding of our society. When the Germanic tribes first came over from northern Germany and southern Scandinavia, we had the Saxons, the Angles, the Jutes, and possibly some Frisians and some other stuff. But the majority of them are Saxons. DoorDash and other food delivery services have buy now, pay later programs. Oh my gosh. Let me pull that quote back up. Predatory lending for cheeseburgers. Oh, fat people don't have a chance anymore. See, organized crime is already providing services for squatter removal and neighborhood cleanup from illegals. It's a beautiful thing. If I shopped for food like my wife, we would always have an empty fridge, and she only buys food when she wants to cook. How often does she want to cook, Lance Corporal Veteran? Lance Corporal Veteran was just talking about that if he sold his house, he got to split half of it with his wife. So I'm wondering if maybe there's some trouble in paradise. Where was I? Oh, so the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes, they leave northern Germany, southern Scandinavia, and they go to England. And there's a bunch of different theories about how this happens. But these become the foundation of the Anglo-Saxon culture. So when they come over, the way they're, hey Walter, the way the culture works is that if a man can afford to own a shield and a spear, Rusty's here. She only cooks once or twice a week and eats out the rest of the week. If he can afford to own a spear and a shield and establish a homestead, he would be a what we would call a citizen now. They called him churls then, but he was basically the and then complains there's no money after eating out. Eating out will kill you. Eating out will kill your budget. Not only is it unhealthy, it will just kill you. So anyway, and some, if you know the way the word churl is used now, it's a pejorative. But back then it was the first step on the rung, the first rung on the ladder of success. You were like basically a citizen. You would like have voting rights if you were around today, because you had a homestead and you had weapons. Right? Our connection to weapons and our houses goes back to the founding of our culture in 400 AD, 500 AD, whatever you think happened. But it goes back 15, 16, almost 1,700 years now. And in the space of just a generation or two, they're going to try to take all those things from us. They're going to try to take our weapons, and they're going to try to take our homes. and they will eat the bugs, and you will own nothing, and will be happy. That's a terrible German accent. I don't know why I try to do accents. I'm awful at them. And I don't. Hey, Buddy Bear is here. Uh, it has been obvious for a decade or more that control of the believers was going to be accomplished through food. Everyone should be food self-reliant by now. So I know Buddy Bear. Uh, he lives about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours from here, and I've been to his home on a number of occasions. Well, two or three occasions, and he's been to my home. That man produces more of his own food than anyone I've met so far. He really should be the one talking on YouTube. Now he doesn't have this, packaging. He doesn't have, the look. I'm kidding. He's a handsome man. Mrs. Buddy Bear loves him to death. But it sounds like a bad French accent. Uh, he really does produce a metric buttload of food. More than anyone else I've met so far. And I know that leaves a lot of room for him to not produce a lot of food because most people don't produce that much food, but he actually produces a lot of food. A lot of food. He gave us our turkey this year for Thanksgiving, and it was how big was that turkey, Buddy Bear? Was it 26 pounds or 27 pounds? I think it was 26 pounds. We had to cut it in half to cook it. 28 pounds, thank you. We had to cut it in half to cook it. It was massive. Now, I've got a large family, and we were actually able to eat most of it that day, I think. Not all of it. I mean, we had some leftovers, but we didn't have a ton of leftovers. But it was a turkey he raised on his place, 28 pounds. That was its butchered weight. It was 28 pounds butchered. I actually got really mad at him because he lent me a cooler to bring it home in, and it was so heavy when I found it. This is why I haven't brought your cooler back to you yet, Buddy Bear. When I picked it up, the handle broke and smashed me in the face. Almost broke my nose. It hit me so hard because that turkey was so heavy. So I still have your cooler, but it's missing a handle, and it's your own fault. First off, for trusting me with your cooler, and second off, for growing such a big damn turkey. Anywho, but it was excellent. That was the best turkey I've ever had. Anywho, let me show you something. We've got more people here than we've had all night, so let me show this to you right now because I'm in love. So I had a really good scrap week. I don't know I might not be able to show it to you at all. So if you haven't heard me talk about this in the past, what I do for work is I do a type of maintenance on rental houses for these large institutional landlords. Yes, I am part of the evil machine. It's not BlackRock, but it's something like that. And so these are rental houses and renters. And so what happens is as I move through my day, I'm always able to find, not always, but I'm frequently able to find scrap laying around. The heating and air guys will leave the excess copper tubing up in the attics, or electricians will leave extra wires laying around. I don't cut anything out of the house because obviously that would be self-defeating. But because these are rental houses and because these are renters and no one really cares about the house, there's just always, the workers will go in and do something and then just throw all the trash off in a corner somewhere. And there'll be, handful of wire in this attic, and there'll be, tubing in the crawl space, or what I really like finding is pressure regulators. The plumbers will go underneath the house and they'll replace the pressure regulator, and they'll just leave the old one there up underneath the house. Well, that's brass. That's like 5-6 pounds of brass. You can get $2 a pound for brass. Anyway, I collect all this stuff, And about every other week, or sometimes once a week, depending on how much I get, I take it to the scrapyard, and then I take my money as soon as I leave the. Uh, yeah, no, I don't do that, Isaac. I promise. As soon as I get the money from the scrapyard, I go straight to my local coin shop, uh, and I buy silver. Yeah, Dad on YouTube. It's hysterical what I'll find sometimes in attics. Oh, lots of Dad. Now look, I can get uh, old hot water heaters left and right because they'll replace a hot water heater, and it'll be a little hard to get it out of the crawl space. So they'll just leave the old one in there. And now frequently they leave them in there because they're too hard to get out. And so I can't always take all the ones I find. So what I'll do is I'll go in there with a wrench and I'll take off the brass pieces. But when I can get them out, and then I'll because I'm riding around in Atlanta now too. So there'll be like last week I got a dryer that's sitting on the side of the road. Someone had a dryer set out there, so I grabbed the dryer. It's up in my scrap metal pile. I'll strip the copper off it, and at some point I'll haul off the steel. Anyway, so that's how I can buy my silver. And I did a side job, and I made $75 for the side job, and so I had $180 with me when I went to the coin shop this week. And they were trying to sell me. Now I have a good relationship with this coin shop. They treat me right. And I've established a relationship with them. And I went in there, they know me and they know what I like, and they said, look, we've got a deal on Roosevelt dimes, and they had a whole roll of Roosevelt dimes they were going to sell me for $90, which is basically just a tad over melt. There's, I mean, it was a good deal, but I don't like Roosevelt dimes. They bore me. That's pretty funny, Isaac. So, but I walked over to the sovereigns, and as soon as I saw this, my heart leaped into my throat, and I was instantly in love. Check this out. I don't know if you can see that. I can't get it to focus. I have a crap phone. That gentleman is a 5-ounce Armenian arc. So, if you know anything about silver, you can tune out for a few minutes. So, there's these different categories of silver, and one of them are called sovereigns. And sovereigns are silver bullion that has been issued by a government, but it has never been legal tender. So the American Silver Eagle is a sovereign, the Canadian Maple Leaf. My ex-wife was a manager at a big gas station. She could hear the difference in the coin ding. She brought all the silver, got $900 in dimes and quarters. So here's the deal. Putty Muddle, is that $900 in face value or $900 worth of silver coins? Because if it's $900 in face value, every $1.40 of that represents an ounce of silver, and you have a lot of money in coins sitting there. Anyway, so these arcs are issued by the country of Armenia. And Armenia is one of the places where the Noah's Ark may have come to rest. It's kind of, there's a lot of people who traditionally say Mount Ararat is in Armenia. And Armenia was the first Christian nation too, by the way. And so they put the Ark on their sovereign silver coins. Now, I'd never seen a 5-ouncer. What I've gotten, because I really like the arcs, and I like Armenia too. Actually, that's a kind of a neat country with a really cool history. Let's see if I can find these real quick. I could never do this on camera. I should have done it before. Here we go. So here's the arc as I'm used to it. This is a Uh, this is a 1 ounce arc. You can see it's actually the same design, but compared to the 5 ouncer, it's not the same thing. Here, let's do this. It is not the same thing. Hey Patrick, how you doing, brother? And I saw this today, and my heart literally jumped out of my chest. And I have been in, I just don't even want to let go of it. It's just beautiful. So they let me have it at a decent deal. It was a pretty good deal. But then, just because I know them, and I'm up there all the time, they threw in a Sunshine Mint 1 ounce bar at a really good price on top of that. And then, I know I won't be able to find this in time. Oh, look at this, I did. Then, they threw in a beautiful 1880 Morgan San Francisco mint at an even better price. I can't tell you what they charged me for this, because you can't get that price, and it wouldn't be fair for me to throw them under the bus. But this is a beautiful, beautiful coin. I'm sorry I can't get you good detail on it, but you can see all the lines in her hair. The Liberty in her headband is there. I mean, all the detail is there. It's almost uncirculated. 1880 San Francisco, and it's got a really pretty toning to it. The back is just gorgeous. It's a high mintage. They made about they minted almost 9 million of these in San Francisco that year. But so what? It's just a beautiful coin. I don't have any graded coins. This is, if it was less common, I might think about trying to get this one graded. It's so pretty. So that's what I got this week. I got the 5 ounce arc. I got the 1 ounce Sunshine bar, and I got this gorgeous Morgan, which was a hole in my, I'm kind of half-heartedly trying to get as many of the Morgan mints as I can. And so I have an 1880 Philadelphia, but I do not have an 1880 San Francisco. So this filled a hole in my it's not a collection, but it filled a hole in whatever it is I have that looks like a collection. It's not a collection. I had a great silver week, and all at a price. I actually told you what I paid a little earlier in the video. I'm not going to repeat it because I didn't mean to show you this. I got this at a shocking price. That's the Toccoa Coin Shop. They've actually got a little YouTube channel. I'm supposed to be on it next week. That's not why I got these deals. But Rodney, the guy who runs their channel, is just an employee. He's not the one who gave me the deals. But Rodney's asked me to come on. He's the one who does their channel. So next week we should be on the Toccoa Coin Shop channel. And then I think while we're there, I'm going to get them to shoot a video with me. And my video next week will probably be there at the coin shop too. We'll see. I really do need to finish up the AR-15 video series, your first day. I haven't stopped to see how that video did this week. All right, no one do anything bad while Isaac's gone. We don't have a moderator for 5 minutes. Oh, gosh. Oh, it's so heavy. I haven't looked to see how that video did this weekend, though. So if you left a good comment and I haven't responded, I apologize. Okay, where were we? I just wanted to show you something. There's a little palate cleanser after the ugliness. Did I miss anything? Okay, Lance Corporal Veteran said, I just recently got overpaid by my job. The same week my wife told me how much I needed to pay taxes. So much for all the plans I had for that money. Isn't that the way it goes? Isaac said, great haul. Nice toning. Yeah, there was some nice toning on that one. I thought Ethiopia was the first Christian nation. Ethiopia was second. And it was very, very, very. Hey, Patrick, we were just talking about your great country. It was very close, but Armenia was actually first. Patrick, I don't know if you saw this. I finally converted my silver to 500 gram bars. Also got a ton of ounces. I thought I had 52 pounds, but it was actually 52 kilograms. That's still a lot of damn silver. Uh, so for our Canadian friends who are here, did y'all see this report that got leaked from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police that was predicting large civil unrest for the next 5 years in Canada due to economic pressures and right-wing populist misinformation? That's what we started off talking about, and I thought it was incredibly prescient considering the world situation right now. That the Canadian government, now this was a leaked report, they didn't mean for this to get out. But I thought if the Canadian government was admitting this internally, what are other government? Because I don't have to tell our Canadian friends that the Canadian government is a bunch of left-wing whack jobs. Yeah, that report sounds like they were saying everything is going as planned. Okay, so yeah, if I wonder though. I mean, secretly they want that. Maybe not even secretly. Oh, Southern Appalachian Recon. Uh, so yeah, the Toccoa coin shop is the closest coin shop to where I am. So we drive over there. Uh, we drive over there to go to the coin shop, and that's why I get over there. Maybe once a week, usually once every other week. So there's just not that many coin shops, and that's the closest one. And I like them. They's good people. At least they're good to me. I don't know how they treat everybody else, but they treat me good. And when I go in there, man, I look like hell. They just found out about all this YouTube stuff. I go in there and because I usually go in there on Fridays and I'm in a rush and I had to drive all the way over there and I've just come from the scrap yard, so that means I was getting all my scrap up and I probably had to clean up my work truck and I just pulled off of some project to run up there as quick as I can. Do you have any thoughts on the eclipse? I'm taking a road trip to see it. I'm up in the air about all this stuff. I grew up in the Pentecostal movement. And, there was all the time someone dancing in the aisle with their hair on fire about something. I've seen guys get wheeled in on wheelchairs and get healed and jump up and start running and dancing and screaming and then get wheeled back out in their wheelchair. So I sometimes get a little jaded and a little skeptical of some of the stuff that comes out of the more emotive parts of the faith. That being said, the heavens are used as signs, and we do live in times that are concerning. And right now, our nation is screwing over Israel. And look, I don't know what you think about the Jews. I don't care what you think about the Jews. When America blesses Israel, America gets blessed. And when America screws with Israel, America gets slapped. I don't know how hard it would be to find the list of crises that have happened to America around times when we've stabbed Israel in the back, but it's almost every time. Almost every time we've stabbed Israel in the back, something bad has happened to America. We are due. Set aside the Israel thing. Okay, forget about the Israel thing. We're due. We've murdered tens of millions of babies. We have embraced every false religion. We have raised up literal Satanism and put it on par with the true faith. When I drive around Atlanta, I see every stinking altar and temple. Uh, there's Hindu this and Buddhist that and weirdo whatever and masjid this and uh, and every other. Hey Mike, someone else has just asked me this, so we'll touch on it about the red heifer and chats are going too quick for me for the moment. I'll try to catch up. Uh, and we have done every unrighteous thing we can think of. God can only be mocked for so long, man. So, do I think that this eclipse signifies something significant? Signifies something significant? Well, there's a. I think something significant is coming no matter what. There was actually a small earthquake on the New Madrid fault line this week too. But my dad was just telling me about it today. We were visiting. We are so far past due for what we've got coming to us. Yeah, they made Easter a trans day in Washington, exactly. That if this eclipse is not a portent of something to come, I'll be surprised. Now, let me reiterate. Yeah, Georgia would be awesome if Atlanta got cut out of the map. That stupid city. Hey, Southern Appalachian Recon. I think the entire political apparatus of the state should be brought to bear to take away all the water from the city of Atlanta. Think about this. We need to shrink that city. We need to minimize its influence. Water is the way to do it. We need to do whatever it takes to give the Chattahoochee River to Alabama and Tennessee. We can kick their asses in football for decades. That's enough. We can let them have the damn river. I'm trying to recruit you here. This just occurred to me over the last couple of years. Since you said you were from Georgia, we need to start harassing our representatives about drying up that city. The way to do it is to give that river to Alabama. It's Alabama. They need something. Nick Saban retired. That's all they had. They had Nick Saban and nothing else. He's gone. Let's give him the river. And in the meantime, let's dry up that. Dad on YouTube, Roll Tide. Let's dry up that stupid cesspool in the middle of the state, and restore some sanity to this son of a bitch, because things are spiraling out of control around here. I mean, they're getting weird. And people just keep flowing into this state. I mean, just flowing into this state, left and right. And go Dogs. Boo Radley says, "You revolt me." I revolt me too. That's the joke, I guess, of the name. I'm the revolting man. I'm in revolution against a system that hates me. I'm revolting in that, I'm in revolution, and I'm revolting in the aspect that I'm despised by my elites. Those who would rule over me hate me. Also, I'm revolting in the spiritual sense, where of course, I believe in spirit and original sin, and we all have to accept our fallen natures. Look, I didn't hear Shapiro say that, Isaac. Ben Shapiro complaining and saying Christ is King is anti-Semitic. That's interesting. I like old Ben. He's a smart guy. He, rightfully so, by the way. Now, this is not a criticism. I'm not criticizing Shapiro for this. But since the October 7th attacks, he has gotten very, very, very focused on the Jewish state of Israel. Now he is smart, Isaac. I listen to his podcast regularly. Uh, I listen to at least 4 of them a week, sometimes 5 of them a week. He's a smart cookie. Uh, Now, what happened? His wife's a doctor, by the way. Yeah. What happened on October 7th was horrific, and uh, I actually agree that Israel needs to destroy Hamas. This has gone on long enough. There's no two-state solution. One side's just got to win, and I think we've got to pick a side, and that side needs to be Israel. For a whole host of reasons, and we can talk about the practical reasons, the foreign policy reasons. We can set aside the spiritual stuff if no one thinks it's relevant. Uh, uh, but yeah, no, there's no two-state solution in Israel. There's no such thing as Palestine. There's no such thing as Palestinians. It's never been a recognized country. There was something like, anyway, we don't need to get into all of it. It doesn't matter. Gaza is run by some of the worst murderous animals in the history of the world. These people put a baby in an oven, turned it on, and raped its mother in front of the oven so she could watch her baby be cooked to death while they raped her to death. I don't care. I don't care. That evil needs to be eradicated. And if you are standing in between that evil and its eradication, then you just have to take what's coming to you. I'm sorry. I don't have any solutions for that. That evil cannot be allowed to stand. We cannot say, oh, well, because we want to be nice to people, we're going to leave these. There's not words in the English language for or there used to be, but we've overused them. This is how bad the world has gotten. We've run out of words to describe the evil around us adequately. All I can tell the Palestinians is walk towards the wall with your hands in the air and surrender and get out of the way, because Hamas has to die. Actually, I don't think they should die, because when you kill jihadis, you make more jihadis. But they have to be defeated. Hey, 10 Tigers, the U.S. Liberty was a big deal, and it's a complex issue, and I tend to I'm a veteran. I'm America. And the USS Liberty, for those of you that don't know, I think it was in the 7 Days War. I think it was the 7 Days War. I think it was 67, but it might have been. I don't know. There's been so many of them over there; they all run together. And the USS Liberty was sitting off the coast of Israel during one of those wars, and I think it was the 6 Days War. And it was monitoring this whole thing, and it was 67. Thanks, 10 Tigers. And it was given information back to America, and this is back when Henry Kissinger was Nixon's national security advisor. And Kissinger was feeding that information back to the Saudis, because remember, this is when Kissinger was trying to set up the petrodollar. And he needed Saudi Arabia to agree to only sell oil in dollars, and to get OPEC to only sell oil in dollars. It was a brilliant plan. It was the bedrock of the last 60, 70 years, whatever you think of the last 60, 70 years. And he needed the Saudis on board. So he allied himself with the Saudis. And he was feeding all this information that he was receiving from the Liberty back to the Saudis. And actually, for the first few days of that war, the Arabs were winning. And Israel had some high-level cabinet meetings, and they attacked the USS Liberty. Now, the official story is that it was a mistaken attack, that they didn't realize it was an American ship. They mistook it for an Arab ship. Not that there were any Arab ships in the area. And it was a stunningly well executed attack. It did such precise, targeted damage that it took the ship out of action. It did kill some crew members. I don't remember how many crew members died. 10 Tigers can tell us, but American sailors died in that attack. And it took the USS Liberty out of operation, and then the Israelis turned around and won the war. The tide of the war turned immediately after that, as soon as that flow of information got flipped off. Do with that what you will. Do I think the attack was an accident? Absolutely not. I think Israel knew exactly what they were doing when they attacked that ship. I think that it was an act of self-defense. We were providing their enemies with vital information that were allowing them to win the war. Now you can still say that, and by the way, that's technically a conspiracy theory, but it's a really solid one. The official story is that the USS Liberty was there in a neutral role, and it was just monitoring the information, and none of it was allegedly getting fed to the Arabs, and then allegedly Israel just made a mistake and attacked the wrong ship. That's the official story. The official story is such obvious bullshit that there's no need to even really debunk it. But, I mean, believe what you want to believe about it. Shalom, Landon. So that was the USS Liberty incident. And there's been other things. Israel has had active spies inside our government. Several in my lifetime, in my adulthood, I remember there being several active Israeli spies in the government. And then Israel has then turned around and turned those secrets over to our enemies, China and whatnot. So look, I'm not the last one to say that Israel is some righteous nation. They're socialists. They're largely atheists. They've got just as many gay rights as we do. They're a Western nation in every front. Here's my take on Israel. They're God's problem. Don't get in the way. When God wants to punish the Jews, God is really, 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 really good at punishing the Jews. I mean, really, really good at punishing the Jews. You may remember the little thing called the Holocaust. The Jews are God's problem. But what you do not want to be is you do not want to be the instrument God uses to punish the Jews. Because as soon as he's done punishing the Jews, he turns around on whoever people he used to do it, and he utterly destroys them. You just look at what happened to the Germans after World War II. That was a people destroyed. I think 20 million of them died in the war. More than, I think only more Russians died. Are the only people that died more in the world. They just did terrible things to them. Haman, if you remember the story of Ruth, when Haman what happened to Haman? Well, Haman got hung on his own gallows. And most likely he wasn't hung on gallows. Most likely he was this is what the smart people say. Who knows? You can't trust smart people. But they say what was more likely to happen is that he was actually impaled on a stake. There wasn't a gallows where he was hung on. He was put on a stake and impaled through his rectum. Every step of the way, if you harm the Jews, God harms you. Why do I hear a fan or static? We don't have a fan on or anything. I don't know. So that's my take on Israel. Don't mess with them. They're God's problem. He'll handle it. We've seen him handle it time and time and time again. But he will not brook you handling it. He has made. Yeah, sorry guys, I don't know what's going on. I don't have anything. There's some chicks in the background. I don't know if you're hearing the chicks peeping. Whew. It may just be my crappy phone. I've got an old iPhone 8, and who knows? It's probably got some gunk in the protective case or something. Uh, he'll take care of them. You don't need to worry about them. There's only, I just saw this recently. Uh, there are more Sikhs in the world than Jews. Uh, if if the Jews can oppress you, then you deserve to be oppressed. Because there's only like 6 million of them worldwide or something. I'm sure Isaac can look it up for us. This is one of the smallest religious groups in the world. The vast majority of them aren't even religious. The vast majority of them are secularists. There's a very small number of Orthodox and Reform. I don't remember all the different. Uh, if the Jews can oppress you, you deserve to be oppressed. Now, now back to Shapiro. Uh, yeah, I he's gotten very very hyper focused on this issue, which I don't think is wrong for him to be hyper focused on. He's a religious Jew, and the Jewish state is very important to them after the Holocaust in the last 2,000 years. And I disagree with Candace. I think she's mistaken. I think supporting the war against Hamas is very important for practical purposes, not just religious ones. All right, Hamas is a proxy for Iran. Iran is a murderous terrorist regime bent on destabilizing the world. All right, the Houthis, they're lobbing missiles at shipping in the Red Sea, are also Iranian proxies. Iran has to be forced back into their boxes. Uh, uh, or there will be very real repercussions for us in America. All the shipping that goes through there, raised prices, scarcities, all this stuff. And just more wars. There'll just be more wars. Look, we can all talk about how we shouldn't get involved in foreign wars, and I agree 100%. We shouldn't be involved in foreign wars. George Washington was right. But that doesn't mean we won't get roped into them. And we are sitting on a powder keg. I think one of the few saving graces we have right now is that there's no culture that is dynamic and strong and able to take advantage of the world situation right now, or we would be embroiled in a horrific worldwide global war over nothing, over garbage. Uh, so yes, embarrassing Iran, draining Iran's resources, boxing in Iran is in America's best interest. It shouldn't be. We should not be set up in such a way that Iran can affect us, but we are. And we can talk about what situation should exist. And this is actually, this is the same thing with Ukraine. But we've got to talk about the situation that does exist. I know no one wants to support the war in Ukraine and throw billions of dollars at this thing, and we shouldn't have to. That war should have never happened. Uh, but it did happen, and we did engage, and now we have to deal with the situation we have in front of us. And if we want to protect our credibility, if we want to forestall a broader war, but yeah, that's true, Isaac. Then Russia has to be put back in its little box. And that means we've got to prop up Ukraine. No, we should not have to prop up Ukraine. The only reason we are or have to deal with Ukraine is because former Vice President dumbass up there had enough of a moment of clarity to say the quiet part out loud and say, well, I don't know, if Russia invades Ukraine, we might, you know, depends on, oh, that's right, we're supposed to be talking about the eclipse. I'm sorry, we'll get back to the eclipse. You know, we might let them have a little slice of Ukraine. And that's the only reason we're in there. Because Putin heard that and he believed it and he thought he had his one shot and he took it. Oh yeah, no, look, I don't think Ukraine is a righteous nation either. This is not about Ukraine. It's about America and it's about American interests. Uh, uh, no, we should not be over there. We should not have to be helping them, but we are, and we have to have some sort of honorable exit strategy. We can't just say, "Oh well, this isn't any fun anymore. We're out." We started something, and we started it. Our dumbass president ran his demented old mouth, and he kicked off a war. All right, this is the responsibility we have as America. When our dumbass demented president says something stupid at a press conference, it can start a war. Right? We should not have that influence. We should not have that power. We also should not have a demented old dumbass who is stupid enough to do that shit. He's not even, I mean, he is, even when he was lucid, he was that stupid. But, the problem is it's not just that he's stupid, it's that he's losing his mind. Yes, the Ukraine war would not exist if Trump was president. October 7th would not have happened if Trump was president. Because Iran would be too poor. Trump would have never given Iran the money they've just been throwing at the Houthis and Hamas. All of that goes straight back to the money, as it was the $6 billion or whatever, that the Biden administration freed up to go to Iran. And what did Iran do? They turned around and they sent it to Hamas and they sent it to the Houthis. And now the Middle East is on fire. And that's why Shapiro is so angry. And he should be angry about that. We should all be angry at that. That fact alone, that $6 billion Biden sent to Iran that is now fueling these horrific atrocities, should be enough to torpedo his entire administration. And left, right, Democrat, Republican, we should all be excoriating Biden for the horrific tragedies that have happened on his watch, simply because of that one thing. Set aside the Ukraine war. Set aside the Afghanistan withdrawal. So, and this proves the point too, and we'll get back to the red heifer and the eclipse. Look, Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. Trump was going to pull out of Afghanistan. The problem was how he did it. Biden just threw everything up in the air and ran. All right? Trump would have done this orderly withdrawal. He would have done this orderly handover. The Abbey Gate attack would have never happened. We might have even kept our air base there in whatever that air base is up there in northern Afghanistan, because it was a what's the word I'm looking for? Strategic gold mine. It was right there up near China. It was on the other side of China from Japan. It sort of bracketed China. It was a wonderful thing to have. We should have never given it up. But we still would have withdrawn, but it would not have been in that manner, and it would not have been such a terrible crisis and a tragedy and a black eye, and it wouldn't have cost us 13 Marines, which obviously is personally a little galling. Same thing with Iran. The same thing in Ukraine. This dumbass, demented old weakling pervert, trailer trash, and I say that as the man who lives in a trailer, corrupt money grubber, has gotten hundreds of thousands of people killed with his lunatic venal greed. End of story. And if you think that, your right to kill your baby, or your right to use the ladies' locker room, or your desire to see children transitioned at 13, 14, and 15 years old. If you think all of that is worth hundreds of thousands of deaths and the horrific atrocities that happened on October 7th, you're just an evil person. You're just an evil person. Or you're so stupid. You're so myopically stupid that you should not be allowed a driver's license. You should not be allowed out in public if you're so stupid that you can look at the world we live in, with the Ukraine situation, with the Iran and the Houthis and Hamas on October 7th, and what's going on. And goddamn, South America's about to find itself in a freaking war. Because Biden's so weak, Venezuela thinks that they can get away with taking over French Guyana. I, the man is a doddering old humanitarian crisis happening. Like, every moment he has not suffered a debilitating stroke, and he has been put. Look, Kamala Harris is probably a better option at this point. Okay. All of that, I think. I think we started all. Okay, we started all of that with the eclipse, and we got off on Shapiro. What did I think about Shapiro saying Jesus Christ is King is anti-Semitic? I think that was a really stupid landmine for him to step on. I mean, that was just ridiculous. It is not anti-Semitic to think to not be of Jewish faith. I mean, that's what that is. Right? If it's anti-Semitic to disagree with the Jewish faith, then the entire world is anti-Semitic. And he needs to shut down his show, and he needs to move to Israel and only talk to Jews, because they're like you said, they're 2% of the population. 98% of the world does not believe that Judaism is true, and making the claim that Jesus Christ is King is simply the claim that, hey, I'm a Christian, I'm not a Jew. I disagree with Judaism. That's not anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Semitic to say you disagree with somebody. It's not Islamophobic to say you don't believe in Islam. It's not anti-Buddhist to say you don't believe in Buddhism. That was just a dumb statement for him to make. He is all spun up right now. It happens to all of us. Sometimes you get a little emotional. And you say things you haven't thought all the way through. I am sure, just the heightened level of emotions he's been at since October 7th, and then the whole Candace Owens situation blowing up on him, and then prior to that it was the whole Stephen Crowder. Hey, I deployed with 3-6 back in the 90s, Savage Airgun. I wasn't in 3-6, but we were part of their. I can't remember if we went to CAX with 3-6 or if we went on float with 3-6. But it was one or the other. We either did a CAX or a float, or maybe it was Bridgeport. We did one of those three with 3-6. And you know what? I've said stupid things in the past, and I'm going to give him a pass on this one. You got to remember, he's not one of us. He's I wouldn't say he's a moderate, but he's kind of a moderate. Patrick says, I'm sorry, but Shapiro is a big baby. He walked straight into Candace Owens' plan. She didn't like her contract with the Daily Wire. Maybe. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't heard any of this. And like I said, I listen to Shapiro Monday through Thursday. Usually Monday morning, I'll listen to, because I don't work Friday. So Monday morning, usually I'll listen, and I listen to the morning one those 4 days. Monday morning, I'll listen to his Friday show or something, and then I'll listen, to the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday. I'll listen to the rest of the shows those days they come up while I'm driving around. So this must have all happened over the weekend, uh, and I'll catch up with it Mondays. I honestly don't know. But if he said that saying Jesus Christ is King is anti-Semitic, that was just stupid. Jesus Christ was a Jew. You can't elevate a Jew to being the king and then also be anti-Semitic. That's a ridiculous, dumb statement to have made, and I think he's probably going to be kicking himself in the butt for having made it at some point. And also, I'm kicking him in the butt for having made it because we don't need that distraction. We need Orthodox Jews to vote with Christians. Yeah, Jeremy Boring is uh, Jeremy is the one who runs the company, who runs Daily Wire. Wes S says all you people are the ones following the Candace Owens stuff. So I don't know that necessarily Shapiro, but Shapiro is an owner. There's three owners of the Daily Wire. It's Boring, Shapiro, and some other guy's name I can't remember. This is fun watching Savage Air Garden and Lance Corporal Veteran, Savage Air Gun and Lance Corporal Veteran talk. Well, it sounds like they served together in 2006 for 3-6. Uh, so anywho, I like Shapiro. I think he's a smart guy. And I don't know. I mean, I know he's been fighting with Candace. Anyway, this is all intramural. Whatever we think about these guys, they're certainly better than the mainstream alternative. Is Boring a rhino? Is Shapiro a rhino? Uh, well, boy, they're a hell of a lot better than MSNBC or NBC or CNN. You know, I don't think they're and they could make a lot of money if they were willing to toe that line. They do toe the line though, some though. I was very disappointed. I sided with Crowder in that whole fight between Daily Wire and Louder with Crowder. Uh, Crowder was a little melodramatic about the whole thing, but he's right. The Daily Wire's claim is that they're building an alternative media environment, one that can't be canceled and shut down by big tech. But then their very contracts say that that their business model is dependent on big tech not shutting them down. That's you can't have it both ways. Either you're an alternative or you're not. And their words claim to be an alternative, and their actions are that they're scared to death to get banned off of the big tech platforms. To the point where the contract they offered Crowder, if all of the penalties got applied at once, like happened with Alex Jones, he would owe them money. That's a terrible contract. Now they said it was a negotiating, it was an opening negotiation. All right, fair enough. Maybe that's true. But again, if it was, well, they just shot themselves in the foot because they put down on paper that they're dependent on big tech not banning them. Yeah, Alex Jones got banned off of every platform all at once. That could happen to any conservative host. Now, I'll say this: they have stuck by Matt Walsh. Through his fighting the trans stuff, which that took some guts. I don't think the Daily Wire are the bad guys. I don't expect ideological purity out of anybody. There's some big things I can't compromise on. Abortion is one of them. Guns are another one. immigration is close to being something I can't compromise on. If you get those big things right, I'm gonna put up with a lot of shenanigans from you on all the other, the little stuff. And the Daily Wire gets the big things right. We don't need to throw them underneath the bus. We've got way, way, way bigger enemies, way more destructive foes in front of us. Well, Isaac, Walsh is a Catholic. So the Catholics are in the midst of an internal crisis. Yeah, yeah. Crowder's wife is beating him with a iron bar. Yeah, Crowder's being run through the ringer right now, and having been run through the ringer by a woman myself, I know it's hard. I'm really digging this conversation between Savage Air Guns and Lance Corporal Veteran. I'm trying to not get sucked into it and have a bunch of dead space while I read these comments, but yeah, not gay Jared turned out to be a dirtbag too. But anyway, but yeah, no, the Catholic Church is having an internal crisis, and something has happened to their, because I listen to some Catholic media types and conservative ones, and something has happened internally. Everyone's been snapped into place. There has been a significant shift in tone among the Catholic media types. They have all instantly changed focus. There has been significant, what's the right word, pushback among conservative Catholics. Yeah, they're going to get me. Savage Air Guns. Against this Pope, who I saw a picture of the Pope today, and he's in a wheelchair. He did not look good. He had put on a ton of weight. And he was washing the feet of female inmates at some prison because he likes these gestures that he thinks make him look like he's humble. And he looked awful. I mean, he looked bad. Put on a ton of weight, stuck in the wheelchair. I don't know how much longer he's going to be around. But, okay, let's get back to the... I think we're done with Shapiro and Candace. Let's get back to the eclipse, and then let's touch on the red heifer, and then we'll call this one a night. Okay, so I think something big's coming, because I believe in a just God who will not be mocked forever. And at some point, we're going to run out of runway. And I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. Now, people have been saying that for my entire cognizant life. For as long as I can remember, believers have been saying that God's going to judge us, God's going to judge us, God's going to judge us. But all that means is that we're that much closer. Red heifer, her name is Jen Psaki. Well done, Isaac. That's nice. And at some point, it's going to happen. We forget sometimes the story of Jonah and the whale, and God sends Jonah to Nineveh to tell him that Nineveh's going to get destroyed because of their great sins. And Jonah gets all pissed, and if you remember the story, he gets mad because he's like, no, I won't do it, because I'm going to go over there and I'm going to deliver this message, and then they're going to repent, and then you're going to forgive them, and I'm going to look stupid. What's Bruce say here? Has anyone figured out where that last tenth of a cent goes yet? I have not figured that out. And of course the whole thing with the whale happens, and Jonah ends up in Nineveh, and Jonah preaches the message, and Nineveh repents, and God forgives them. But what we forget is that 150 years later, Nineveh does get destroyed. The prophecy that they would be destroyed came true. there was just a reprieve for a while because of some repentance there, temporary repentance. God will not be mocked, and his wrath will not be forestalled forever. So I don't know if this eclipse itself is a portent of big things to come. I know there are big things coming, and I know this eclipse is a big thing. Okay, well, George Lopez is being interesting. So I don't remember who exactly asked about the red heifer. It may have been George. And then he just asked about who the whore of Babylon is. The red heifer is kind of a big deal, but it's not a massive deal. So again, this has been going on for my entire lifetime. They've been trying to, the Jews have been trying to raise a red heifer. Because they think they need a red heifer in order to purify the implements they need to restart the temple sacrifices. And this freaks everyone out because they think that means the temple's going to get rebuilt, and then that means the Al-Aqsa Mosque has to be blown up, and then that means a giant war, and people have tied that to the return of the Antichrist, or not, sorry, the coming of the Antichrist and the tribulation and all that. Okay. So, big breaths. So first off, the return of the sacrifices does not require the building of the temple. Remember, the sacrifices that commenced with the first sacrifice of the red heifer happened hundreds of years before the temple was built. They happened in the tabernacle. All right? There's actually not a command to build in the law to build the temple. The command was to have a tabernacle. So we don't have to blow up the Al-Aqsa Mosque in order to restart the sacrifices. They just have to rebuild the tabernacle. And it doesn't necessarily mean a huge Middle Eastern war and all this stuff. Now, it is a step in that direction. And I personally believe that the abomination of desolation spoken about in Revelation will be when followers of Jesus, believers in Christ, actually travel to Jerusalem and participate in sin offerings at a restored altar, whether it be at the tabernacle or the temple. I believe that's going to be the abomination of desolations. When we start trying to get forgiveness for sins outside of Christ. So to me, it is a very, very, very big deal. But we've got to be really careful about screaming, Wes S., this is Isaiah chapter 3. Isaac will get us I don't have a Bible in here. Isaac will get us the reference, I almost guarantee it. I think it's, or maybe it's the first verse in chapter 4. It's Isaiah 3 or 4, where he says, "Woe is my people, for women and children rule over them." I think that's the one Isaac's talking about. It's a powerful passage. So yeah, it's a big deal that they think they found a red heifer. Now here's the thing. The red heifer has to be a certain age, and she can't have any more than 6 hairs that are any color other than red. So it's extremely rare, unheard of. So I haven't heard this latest round if they've got some heifers up to the right age. But here's the other problem. The red heifer can only be sacrificed by Aaron. I'm sure they're going to say by one of Aaron's descendants or sons. Isaiah 3:12, Wes. Thank you, Isaac. And so you're going to have to start being able to convince everybody, all the Jews, that this red heifer is valid, that you have the right descendant of Aaron to do the sacrifice. So this is a step in the direction, but it does not mean that suddenly everything now has fallen into place and it's all systems go and the sacrifices restart, you know, next month on the new moon. It is concerning. I need a haircut. Jeez. It is concerning, uh, and it moves the chains down the field, but it's not the final step. There is still time. Okay, so that's the red heifer. Uh, and by the way, they've thought they've had the red heifer before, and it failed. Now, great whore of Babylon, spoken of in the book of Revelation. I tend, and this is just a principle, I tend to always apply everything literal unless it's very clear to me that it shouldn't be literal. So things that shouldn't be literal are like poetry and prophecy. Because like we were just talking about with Jonah, God prophesied the destruction of Nineveh, and it happened. It just happened 150 years later. And Jonah assumed that the prophecy should mean that it was going to be destroyed, you know, in front of his eyes. So when it says great whore of Babylon, I assume that it means Babylon. I assume it's literal and that the great whore of Babylon will actually be Babylon, that there'll be a reconstituted Babylon. Now, that's just because I have a simplistic mind, and when it actually happens, when it actually comes to fruition, we are all going to be gobsmacked about it. No one is going to see, but we're all going to be like, wow, did not see that one coming. So there is nothing about the book of Revelation that I am dogmatic about. I do think the meanings have been concealed till the time of the end. Not that we shouldn't read it or think about it or try or seek wisdom about it and through it and from it. I'm not saying that at all. It's inspired scripture. It's good for instruction and reproof and the teaching of the saints. I'm just saying no one really knows how all that stuff's going to look in the end. But my principle, the approach I take to everything, is take it literally first, unless it just can't be taken literally. So when it says one like Elijah will return, and it's John the Baptist, not Elijah, but I mean, there's times when it can't be taken literally. But until it can't be, I say take it literal. If it says the great whore of Babylon, then I assume there will be some connection to Babylon proper. But like I said, I'm not dogmatic about it, and I haven't studied it. So there's all sorts of information I don't have about it, and there's all kinds of possibilities that that's just a ridiculous idea I've made up in my head. I have done that before. All right, man. Holy hell, we went deep and wide tonight, man. That was not surface level stuff. That was some good shit. George says literal transportation. Literal transportation. So Pete Buttigieg should think about literal transportation. Literal translation is the reason I do not believe common perception and origin of Satan. Lance Corporal veteran and Savage Air Guns are still telling sea stories. They hang their. See, this is why I'm so grateful to have been a tow gunner, to be an 0352. These guys are talking. They were 0311s. They were regular infantry, what we would call ground pounders or crunchies. Because we call them crunchies because that's the sound they made when you hit them with a Humvee. As a tow gunner, we would have 2, possibly 3 Marines in a Humvee, uh, and so we were really, really spoiled. We were technically infantry, but we never had to walk anywhere. And because we only had 2 to 3 Marines assigned to a Humvee, we would just take god awful amounts of shit to the field with us. You know, I would take like 3 or 4 different books. So, this is this is literally one of the books I used to take to the field with me when we would go. Now, if you were humping, if you had to carry everything on your back, your people would cut out the. You got me, Savage Air Guns. You were right. Back then we were still in the so-called woodland camis, uh, and there were these little drawstrings at the cuffs of the trousers, so that army guys could blouse their boots like gay guys, and and guys and Marines would go down and they would cut those little ribbons out because they felt like it made their gear lighter for their humps. And of course, these ribbons, they weighed nothing. Oh, that. Hold on a second. That's a blouse. That's a blouse. And yes, it was a little weird to wear blouses. Oh, here they go. So here's a pair of trousers. A nice, well-starched pair of trousers. After all these years, that's how much starch I used to use. So these little ribbons, I don't think they even run all the way around the whole cuff. I think they just run between these two. I could be wrong. I don't know. I never cut mine out, but where's the girdle? Uh, but humping. We called it humping when you would hike with your pack and your gear. Humping would get so far in your head that you would do anything to try to make it seem a little easier. To the point where Marines would cut these little ribbons out because they felt like it made it lighter. Uh, so yeah. So you would never take a big old book like that to the field. I thought the Navy did all the humping. Trust me, the Navy would never hump. They only screw. But as a tow gunner, when you've got this Humvee that you never, I mean, there would be times when you would just, piss and shit off the edge of the truck. You would sleep on the truck, you would eat on the truck, you just wouldn't leave the truck. It was against a tow gunner's morals to get off of the truck, because that's what ground pounders did, and we were not ground pounders. We were tow gunners. It was a much different experience. Now the downside to being a tow gunner, wrecked them, knew them, or killed, or let's say, wrecked them. No, damn near killed them. Uh, the downside to being a tow gunner was that when you were in the field or when you were on post, we had a night sight on our tow missile that was infrared. It was heat vision, and back in the late '90s, it was top of the line heat vision. It was amazing. And you couldn't hide from it. I've told this story on the channel before, but one time we rolled up on it was called a staple platoon. They were like sniper light. They weren't total snipers, but they were like baby snipers. They were good. And they were out in an LZ in ghillie suits, and I think there was 17 or 18 of them or something. It might even been 30. I don't know. There's a lot of them. And I fired up and we were just set in right there next to the LZ, just waiting to do a movement somewhere. And I fired up the night sight and was scanning the LZ, and the platoon sergeant for the stay platoon came down and said, "Hey, can you see the guy? Can you see everybody?" Because they were doing this exercise where if they all passed the exercise, they were going to leave the field a week early, and if they failed, they were going to have to stay out another week. And he wanted to fail them all, and the way they failed is if they got if a certain percentage of them got identified in the LZ. And of course, I had I had infrared. I had heat vision. Heat vision is not the right way to say it, but I'm just trying to communicate clearly. And these guys were really, really good. And in the ghillie suits, you couldn't see them. I was looking in the optical sight, and I would switch back and forth. And the only way I found them is I flipped to wide field of view, and I could see their muzzles of their rifles. The muzzles of their rifles, yeah, the muzzles of their rifles would glow red hot. All the rest of them was covered with the ghillie suit. You couldn't see them in the optical sight. You couldn't see them in the night sight. But the muzzles of their rifles were glowing red hot, or they were glowing red. And back then, that sight. Now today, I think it's white. You know, the hotter it is, it glows white. It shows white. But in that particular sight, it was red. The cooler it was, the closer it got to black. The hotter it was, the closer it got to red. And so there was these bright glowing red dots all over the LZ. And I mean, I could just see right where they were. And it took me like 3 minutes to identify where all these stay platoon guys were. And you know, the staff sergeant had walked down to me, and he had comms, and it was just like you see in the movies where this old fat master sergeant was sitting in the bed of a pickup truck with a pair of binoculars, and he was the one who was supposed to. They would have to get past him to pass. And the staff sergeant walked down to me with his walkie-talkie, and he was just calling back up to the master sergeant, telling him where to go. And in minutes, we failed all of those guys, however many it was. So the night sight was absolutely amazing. And so what would happen if you were on post, they would put you at 50%. So you always had to have someone in the gun with the night sight up. And that was the downside to being a tow gunner. All that big, long story to tell you this one little, the only downside to being a tow gunner was that if you were on post, you were going to be on 50% alert because they would want the night sight up and running all night long, scanning the perimeter. Other than that, being a tow gunner was the best job in the Marine Corps. And I even had it better than that because I was a tow gunner in a tank battalion. And the tow is an anti-tank weapon. And tankers hate everybody, but they really hate tow gunners. And so they didn't want to see us. They didn't want to hear us. They didn't want to know we were alive. They would say, disappear. We'll call you when we need you. Hey, Dean, how you doing, sir? And we would. And as long as we showed up when they needed us, and they didn't need us often, they didn't care what we did, how we did it, where we did it, or even if we did it. It was a great 4 years. So I loved being a tow gunner. I loved being a tank battalion. Actually, that's what this shirt is, actually. This is our platoon shirt. A toe 2 twisted steel and sex appeal. And the back is getting really faded, but I can't tell how well you can see that. But this is our old tow platoon shirt from 2nd Tank Battalion tow platoon. 2nd Tank Battalion has been disbanded, and so tow platoon was actually disbanded a few years before 2nd Tanks was disbanded. So the unit doesn't even exist anymore, which was still bothers me. All right, so I hate shutting down this conversation when Lance Corporal Veteran and Savage Air Guns. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Air Garden. I know Savage Garden was a band back in the 90s that had 2 or 3 good songs. So I know I'm trying to say Savage Garden and just inserting the air into Air Garden, but it's Savage Air Gun. But Lance Corporal Veteran and Savage Air Gun have finally found each other after all these years. And I hate to break up their budding romance, but I think we're going to stick a pin in this one tonight, gentlemen. I've been trying to keep these to an hour and a half, and we blew right through that tonight. If I lasted another 10 minutes, we would have a 2-hour live stream. Lance Corporal Veteran's on X on the same name. I'll have to look it up, Lance Corporal Veteran. I'm on there as the Revolting Man, but I haven't done anything with it yet. I don't even have a profile picture up. I just haven't decided what I'm going to do. I don't want to just keep adding social media and adding social media and adding social media, but I would like to grow the channel, and I think that means I've got to get a little active on Patreon. What did you say? Okay, Isaac, I definitely will follow you. You text me your username. Hey, anti-at Jack. And I don't know why I even want to. I mean, anyway, I know I'm not going to do Instagram. I've got a Facebook for the channel that I almost never do anything with. I just like talking to you men occasionally. Oh, Isaac actually does do pretty good memes. You know who else I got Twitter banned within 20 minutes? That surprises me not at all, Dean. Adam up at North Point Axe does pretty good memes too. Isaac, we should get him to give you some of his memes, because he has some decent ones. He makes 20 a week. Holy shit. All righty, man. We appreciate the hell out of you. We're gonna stick a fork in this one, and we're gonna call it done. Great conversation, George Lopez. You really brought some topics tonight. I don't think I did them justice, but then, you know, here I am, a high school graduate and a blue collar guy, living in a double wide trailer at the end of a dirt road, bottom of a, how did it go? I screwed it all up. At the bottom of a dirt road, at the end of the top of a valley, at the, well, anyway, I had a whole thing. Hey, Dean, I'm sorry, brother, it was a pretty good conversation, though. Sorry to be bailing right when you show up, but we're rolling up on the 2-hour mark, and I'm sure my poor wife wants to go to bed. And I'll probably start doing these outside again soon. It's starting to warm up enough, but I've been doing them inside just because it's been cold, and I'm a sissy. I'm 48 years old. I'm a grandfather. I don't have to freeze out on the porch. Satch Boogeyman. Who is Satch Boogeyman? Is that the Sasquatch? If that's the Sasquatch, yeah. Dean just came in to say goodnight. He's our closer. Speaking of which, oh, the Braves are off to a start. Woohoo! Next Friday, I'm actually going to the Braves game. It's going to be cool. Maybe I'll take some pictures and upload them from the Braves game. All right, man. We appreciate you. Y'all have a good evening. Isaac, thank you, sir. We appreciate all your help.